Yes, people. Welcome back to the finished article and welcome back to all things football and Fergie Time. It's going to be a collaboration of both shows where we're going to be talking about the Premier League, but we're also going to be focusing a little bit at the start on Manchester United. And as you can see, the title shows we're going to be talking about Mason Greenwood and the charges against him being dropped and what this means for his career at United and what we think it's, whether he's going to be accepted back at the club or by the fans. When I say we, I don't mean me on my own. I mean me and my co-host Shaz, who is about to join me. There we go. Welcome, Shaz. Welcome. Yeah, all good, man. Just changing the background there. Sorry, folks. As you can see at the bottom, you've got our Facebook, you've got our Twitter, and you've got the YouTube channel. So please subscribe, follow, and all that good stuff along social media. And underneath our names over here, you can see my personal Twitter, Shazzy's personal Twitter, and you've got also, the finished article Twitter against my name as well. But we're going to get straight into it, Shaz. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood, this little scumbag who beats girls up.
All right, let me kick this off.
I'll let you start, bro, because there's plenty I could say right now, bro.
We've had enough of you talking because you always like to kick feels off, so I'm going to do the talking for now. And Chelsea's going to sit with some popcorn at the back.
Bro, I'm going on mute now. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours, yeah?
Yeah, so basically, all jokes aside, we had the news yesterday. I kind of sent the screenshot to Shaz, who then messaged me when I was traveling home from work. Was like, we need to get a podcast out and share our thoughts. And you know what? He's right. We have to. Now, for those that don't know, Greenwood was charged last January with assaulting a female, which is unacceptable and wrong. And there was some audio footage.
It wasn't just assault, or was it, Chaz? There was quite a lot of other things.
Yeah,
it was
a lot less. What me and Chaz are basically saying is that no man should ever disrespect women.
He shouldn't be able to get away with that. We saw the picture evidence, we heard the audio evidence. So why have the charges been dropped against a scum like this?
Exactly. So very much.
I'm gonna put my hand up, right, bro, and I'm gonna say I don't care if the charges have been dropped. I don't want him back at United. There's no place for a scumbag like that at Manchester United. His contract should have been terminated when these allegations came out because there was picture evidence that he's hurt this woman who was his girlfriend at the time, and there's audio evidence of what he was saying to her. And bro, I've heard that audio evidence because it was available online for people to hear, and it's very hard to listen to some of the stuff that he's saying to her.
I don't think I could listen to it. That's the problem. I mean, I listened.
Bro, I actually listened to it because I think it was available on YouTube or maybe somewhere else. But it was very, very hard to listen to some of the stuff that he was saying to her. And I'm not going to repeat some of that, bro. I mean, I know we spoke about it on the phone earlier, and I spoke to other people about it today in regards to what he said to her and about his charges. Now, it's been almost a year because I think it was last February that these allegations came out against him. He's missed the World Cup. He's missed the end of last season and the start of this season at United. He hasn't been able to train with anybody at United. So none of the first team, none of the reserves, none of the youth team, nothing. United basically said, right, you are suspended. You cannot train with anybody at the club until we know the outcome of your case. Now, the outcome has obviously been that these charges have been dropped. Now, I'm going to put this to you, Shaz. There's obviously different reasons why charges can be dropped, but what's your theory on this, bro? What's your theory?
It's a good analogy, and I'm glad you asked me. So my theory is that, and I know I heard that witnesses has dropped out now. I said this to you yesterday that the only person, apologies, my camera's a bit blurry. I think the only person that could have paid to clear this off is the Glazers, because they clearly don't care about Manchester United, and they've only ever been interested in themselves in terms of financially. For me, I can't imagine the club getting involved, considering what the fact that they have a women's team as well. So what does that tell the ladies team that, okay, we've got a player that did something silly like that? you just can't accept it. And second of all, a lot of these players are fathers to daughters as well, so it doesn't set a precedent. So my take on it is that, unfortunately, and I hate what I'm about to say, but in the eyes of the court, evidence is key. That audio should have been enough to put him away, but for some reason I heard that his ex-partner didn't proceed with,
So has she taken back the case against him? Is that what's happened? Has she dropped the charges against him?
I think from some quarters that's what I hear, but that's what I'm really hard. That's what I'm struggling to say.
Because there's no official news on why these charges have been dropped, as far as I know. All I heard yesterday was obviously what you sent me and what I've looked at myself is that the charges against Mason Greenwood have been dropped. That's literally all it said. So I really want to know where's this come from? Why have they been dropped? Who's dropped them? Was there an issue with the case? Was there an issue with the evidence? Has the victim come out and said that she wants to drop the charges? Has she been paid off? What's the script? Because we can't just accept that the charges have been dropped and now he's back. He potentially, bro. At the moment, it looks like he's innocent, which we know he's not from the evidence. But the club are going to see it that he's innocent. They're not going to terminate his contract. So is Ten Hag going to integrate him back into the team?
No, I don't think he will. I think rehabilitation-wise, if he wants to rectify himself, he will do that. He will do that on in Europe. I'm just getting a comment from a good friend, basically saying that the Crown prosecution have dropped it.
Not the CPS are the ones that drop the charges, not the victim.
But
so I've just had the same message, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, really appreciate that message.
It's not that the victim has come out and taken those back. So yeah, thank you very much for the message there. So why have the CPS dropped these charges? What's actually happened? If anybody has new information regarding this and you're listening in, please drop it in the comments because I'm really interested to know why these charges have been dropped. Was the woman lying? If she was, where did this evidence come from? How did that audio come out? Where did these pictures come from? Things like this, man. There's a lot of questions to be asked if that is the case. Or is it the fact that there's not enough evidence? Or is it the fact that, they've agreed behind closed doors on an agreement to close this case? Because that does happen.
Can I just add something interesting that I think you'll appreciate? So one thing I want to bring in. So when young players in today's generation are growing up and they're with clubs, I think there needs to be this whole education piece on etiquettes and behaviors. And I know, Shaz, you might find this a bit funny or say, "Why are you talking about this?"
Reality, you go for it, bro. You carry on.
Reality is that parents can only do so much. Once a player goes out into a club environment, the club are also responsible, especially at a young age, to say, look, you're going to be a role model for millions that watch. Because let's be honest, being a footballer isn't easy to get into. There's loads of trials, very select few get in. I mean, if we could all do it, we'd all be playing football, right? Isn't that right, Shaz? We'd all be playing for Man United, Coventry City, you name it. We'd all be kicking the ball and earning a buck without having to worry about life. But life doesn't work that way. And the other thing that's got to be said is that I don't know what sort of message this sends to the community in terms of footballers are special, if that makes sense. If the charges can be dropped against them, but not against normal human beings, not saying that it has been fully, but it just sets the precedent. So women have to feel secure in this environment. They can't just be made to feel that no justice is being served. But yeah, over to you, bro. So I just throw that piece in.
Bro, like I said earlier, I don't care that the charges have been dropped against him. I still don't want him at United. I would want his contract terminated and he can go wherever the hell he wants. I don't give a shit. Don't want scumbags like that at this club. There's no space in football for people like that. I mean, You know, what are United going to do? Release him from his contract? And
No, I think he'll be
what's
released.
going to happen to him after that, though? If United do release him from his contract, if they terminate his contract like they did with Ronaldo's, albeit that was for a different reason. We cancel Ronaldo's contract because of his interview. But if United cancel Mason Greenwood's contract, where does that leave him? Who's going to pick him up? Let's be honest, bro. Fair enough. There's been stuff like this where people, you know, players have been to prison. Was it Adam Johnson who went to prison and a club
Ched Evans, Ched Evans also
Ched Evans as well.
Yeah.
You know, the clubs will pick people up because they need the talent. And don't get me wrong, Mason Greenwood's a very talented player, but just because he's got the talent doesn't mean we should keep him at United. We don't really need him. We've got Anthony, Sancho, Martial, Rashford. We've got younger players coming through the youth system that could be better than him. Yeah. And I don't think we should be keeping him in the club just for the fact that he's a talented player. Yes, he's a talented player. He's one of the top English prospects in football until these allegations came against him. He's ruined his own career. He's probably never going to play for England again unless he plays for a top six or a Premier League club, which I doubt any Premier League club wants that type of attention around them for picking up a player like this. Maybe in a couple of years down the line when it's all died down, when he's about 23, 24, 25, a club in the top flight will pick him up. You know what I mean? But that's going to be too late. That's going to be his best years gone. He's not going to get into the England squad at 25.
I absolutely. I don't think he'll. Personally, I don't think United will keep him on. I think they would like.
Bro, if United were going to get rid of him, they would have got rid of him when these allegations came against him. It clearly showed United didn't want to get rid of him because all they did was suspend him. Now, I think I spoke to you about it, or it might have been someone else, Shaz. The way that United dealt with this situation and the way Arsenal dealt with the Thomas Partey situation.
Yeah.
So with Thomas Partey, there were allegations against him for kind of similar things, sexual harassment or sexual assault or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Arsenal didn't suspend him. Arsenal stood by him. Arsenal let him continue to train with the team and they let him continue to play for the first team. And when the allegations came out against Greenwood, United suspended him with immediate effect. He wasn't allowed to train with the team or play with the team at all until the outcome was given, which obviously we heard yesterday. The allegations, not the allegations, the charges have been dropped against him.
Charges have been dropped, yeah.
Now, from my understanding of the situation and the system, the CPS don't have to release this information. So they don't really need to come out and say the charges against Mason Greenwood dropped because X, Y, and Z. All they need to do is come out and say the charges against Mason Greenwood were dropped, and they will leave it at that. They don't need to disclose that personal information as to why. So I doubt we're ever going to hear from the CPS as to why, but we could hear from Mason Greenwood about it if he wants to come out and say, the charges were dropped against me because blah, blah, blah. Or if the victim comes out and, does an interview and says, okay, the charges were dropped because of X, Y, and Z. But I don't think either of those two are going to come out and talk about this because they're going to want to leave, especially the female, the victim. She's going to want to leave this incident in the past because obviously it's had a lot of effect on her life, her career, her mental state, and her family and whatnot. And she's been through a lot, which, she's probably not going to want to revisit, that past and what happened, who it happened with, and talk about it. So she might not even come out and say whatever happened. She might just move on from this now. Yeah. Mason Greenwood does need to come out and defend himself here if he's done nothing wrong. So when the allegations were put up against him, he didn't make any statement. He didn't say that, these allegations are false, blah, blah, blah. He said, he didn't say anything. He's kept his mouth shut. And still, he hasn't said a word regarding this. Obviously, he's spoken to the police. He's given statements. He's been to, spoke to the lawyers and whatnot. He spoke to United behind closed doors. But he hasn't come out in the press and made any public statement about it. Now, if he wants to be accepted by fans in any way, shape or form, he does need to give his side of this story. Yeah,
I think at some point he's going to have to come and clear the story up. I mean, the only way he's going to get accepted back by not just fans but people in society.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to take a lot for me to accept him back, bro. As a Man
Yeah,
United fan, it's going to take a lot for me to accept this guy back into the club.
Bro,
I don't care if he comes back and scores goals. I don't care if he comes back and wins us games. I don't care if he scores hat-tricks. I don't give a shit about that.
No, exactly.
I would rather have him never play for United and lose games where he would have scored in. I would rather play a game without him and lose that game than play with him and win it. Because he does not deserve to wear a Man United shirt. Tell me I'm wrong, bro. Tell me I am wrong.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. I think generally...
Is there anybody out there that thinks that I'm wrong about that? I guarantee there will be United fans that, or Mason Greenwood fans that think, okay, charges are dropped, he's innocent, let him play again. No, let's not do that. Let's not support him just because the charges were dropped against him. Once a scumbag, always a scumbag. He's done it once. Who's to say he's not going to do it again? Keep him out of the spotlight, and just don't give him that position back that he had before as a footballing celebrity or whatever he was. Don't give him that back.
Exactly, yeah. He's got to go through a long, hard lesson of understanding what's right and what's wrong.
Of course he does. Of course he does. United need to terminate his contract and let him play at bloody Burnley or something, man.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's going to be playing.
I don't even think Burnley wants him. It's that bad, bro.
I don't think
he'll have to go back to Sunday League football, bro. Sunday League football. That's where he'll be good at. And then he'll get some dirty tackles there. They'll probably break his legs in the Sunday League.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen some of the tackles in Sunday League football, bro. They're brutal. He won't be able to handle them. He'll get his legs broken by them. They don't like people like him down there.
Yeah,
there'll be someone in a team that doesn't like him that he plays against that will snap his leg up. And most people will just go shake that guy's hand, bro.
I don't think so, man. But you know what? We had to bring this breaking news to you today.
So there's a question here that obviously you've seen in the group chat that we're in. It says, was the law upheld? Of course it was. But was justice done? Okay. So I'm going to answer both of those questions. And I'm going to answer them separately. Was the law upheld? No, it wasn't. Charges were brought against him, but then they were dropped, even though there was evidence to show he was guilty. So that, to me, shows the law was not upheld. Something's gone wrong somewhere in this system that's had these charges dropped. And the second part was justice done? No, not at all. If justice was done, he'd be in prison being some big guy's bitching in a cell, bro. That's justice for him.
Yeah, bro. It's I do agree that something went missing. I can't put my finger on it. Like you said, we have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, I do agree that I find it hard that charges were placed against him, and all of a sudden you're now telling us that
you look at have you seen the pictures, bro? That his girlfriend posted of her bruises and stuff.
Yeah, I saw them. They went.
You've seen that, yeah? So you can make your own judgment, bro. Everyone can make their own judgment off those pictures that he's beat her up. Physically, he's hurt her. So that's GBH, grievous body harm, right? Now, if you listen to the audio, which I have, and it's like I said earlier, bro, it's very hard to listen to that audio because of the stuff that he's saying. And without saying some of the stuff that he said, he has basically implicated himself in sexual assault on this female by the way he spoke to her and the forceful nature of his tone and the words he was using and everything like that. He's implicated himself as being guilty just by the pictures and the way he spoke in that audio. So, no, justice wasn't done because this guy should be in prison.
No, I agree. He should be in prison. There should be tougher sentences for people that do silly crimes like that. And I honestly, I think that this isn't the end of the matter. It is going to pick up in terms of like you will see more follow-up leads. I think what's happened is obviously they basically said, look, whoever posted these threats in the first place or allegations. For some reason, they've kind of pulled out, which I find disrespectful, because why would you then place an allegation and then pull out something?
Okay, so when you say the allegations were put against him from his ex-girlfriend, you mean, yeah?
Yeah.
So the only way that she would be able to take that back is if she was lying. Because if he has done what she said, there'd be no way and there'd be no reason for her to take all that back.
Exactly, that's what I mean. It's like,
so has she lied? Has she just done this as a publicity stunt? Has she done it for the money?
Bro, this is why. So part of the reason why I said when you asked me to chime in at the start of this show 20 minutes ago. So do you not think that in today's age, with social media, with the way footballers are, that anybody that can find a way to make quick success will find some way of angling, and they got targeted? And yes, I'm not saying what Mason Greenwood did was right; it was absolutely wrong. But what I'm saying is that there needs to be this education piece whereby people need to use their brains. You've got to be a lot smarter than that, and essentially say that, look, what is this? You can't, just because I'm a footballer, yes, I understand I get paid a lot of money, but I'm also a normal human being. But at the same time, he's a young man that should have used his brain, and he didn't. The reality is that he's always going to get stained with this forever. People are always going to look at him as the person that abused women.
Yeah, of course.
Well, rightly so. And that's not going to go away like that, or a few apologies aren't going to fix that.
Nothing's going to fix what he's done, especially for the victim, bro. It's not going to fix her mental state. It's not going to fix the anxiety that it brings to her. And it's not going to fix her, image in the public that, this has happened to her. He's ruined that woman's life. I don't care that he's ruined his own life. That's his own problem. But he's ruined this young woman's life by doing this. And right now, he has he's got no consequences for his actions. Yes, he's had a trial against him and he's not been able to play football for nearly a year. But he's had no fine from the court. He's had no prison sentence. So what is this? What is this legal system, bro?
Bro,
it's a joke. This legal system's a joke, bro.
As you are. I'm just about as confused as you are.
It's actually a joke, bro. That this guy, let's say it's not Mason Greenwood, right? Let's say some random person that's done this to someone else, right? That guy would be in prison right now. Let's be honest. If it was just some random guy off the street or in our local town, he'd be in prison right now, bro. He'd be in prison behind bars for years right now.
Yeah.
But because he's got money, because he's a celebrity, because he's got that money behind him, he's got away with it. And that's disgraceful. And that shows the legal system here is just messed up. If you can't trust your legal system, how can you trust anything in your country if you can't trust your legal system to put scumbags like that away?
Yeah, no, I agree, bro.
There's people getting away with worse than him. Don't get me wrong. There are people that have probably done worse than him and got away with it as well. No, and that's the problem as well. Not just the fact that he's got away with it, but right now we're talking about him, so that's why we're focused on that point. But okay, we spoke quite a bit about this, so I'll ask you a question, bro. As a Man United fan, would you accept him back training with the club and then coming back into the first team?
No.
Okay, that's fair. Just wanted to double check that we were on the same page about that. Now, what does it mean, though? What does it mean, A, for Mason Greenwood, that the charges have been dropped, and B, for Manchester United? So, firstly, what does it mean for Man United that the charges have been dropped? What's the potential outcome for Manchester United now? What's their, what stances could United have on this?
Well, I think it's a worst case scenario for them, because essentially everyone's going to go back to them and say that they now have to make a decision. So, like you said, they should have sacked him at the start when the allegation was placed. But because he was only suspended, they were hoping that the court would say you're guilty, in which case United would say contract terminated, baat khatam. But now, because the court have kind of dropped the case. It's now come back to Man United. So it's like a nightmare scenario for them in the sense that, okay, we have to make a decision. Well, we don't really have to.
Bro, it's not a hard decision to make, though, is it?
It's not.
They've seen the evidence. They will have seen the evidence, bro. They've heard the evidence. They know the situation, and they're still doing nothing about it. It's been 24 hours at least since the news broke that the charges were dropped, and we've not heard a sniff from United. And it doesn't surprise me because it's the Glaciers in charge, bro. It does not surprise me that they've not said anything.
But I'm surprised because they're looking to sell the club as well, so they clearly don't want the reputation.
What are they going to do? Keep him as a player, not terminate his contract, sell the club, and then leave it for the new owners to take?
No, they should be sacking them and saying, "Look,
they shouldn't be doing that." Exactly. So I've heard also just a little bit of news about the ownership at Man United. The Glaciers are double thinking on the fact of selling the club.
Oh, really?
They still want to keep a stake in the club, but just have somebody else on board who's going to invest. So like a majority stakeholder. So they're not going to be selling 100%. That's an option that they're looking at. I don't know how the other investment companies or the groups that are trying to buy United think about that, or whether they're willing to work with the Glaciers after what they've done with United since they've had it, or whether they actually want the Glaciers gone full stop. But we'll cover that when there's more info about it. Obviously, we spoke about what this means for Manchester United. That obviously they've got a decision to make whether they're going to stick by Mason Greenwood and let him continue to play at the club and train at the club as a contracted player, or are they going to sack him? Because if they sack him, that leaves, obviously, we've got another question there, is what does this situation now mean for Mason Greenwood? Where does it leave him? For the best case scenario for Mason Greenwood is that United keep him at United on his contract, let him maybe play in the reserves and potentially make his way back into the first team if he's still good enough to get into Ten Hag's team. Because let's be honest, we've not seen him play under Ten Hag. We've not seen him play in Ten Hag's system. And personally, I don't want to see him in Ten Hag's system. I don't want to see him at Manchester United. I don't want to see him wearing a United shirt. I don't want to see United represented by someone like Mason Greenwood.
No, I agree. But I don't think it'll come to that because I don't think he will play under Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag basically has taken the stance that I don't want any distractions. I've already tried to sort the club out, and it's been a big change.
Yeah, I mean, he had the issue with Ronaldo, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
And he dealt with that pretty well, if you ask me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think he's shown that he is a tough decision maker, and at the same time, he won't be too fazed by this. He'll assess the situation. He'll be like, "Look, it's not going to change the fact that I picked the 11. He's still not been part of it. He hasn't played since January last year, so it's not a case of he's going to come back in and it's going to be rosy." At the same time, I don't think Man United can take the damaged reputation, so they'll kind of cut their losses, and he'll do what Ched Evans did, whereby he will do rehabilitation. And you've seen players in Scotland, for example, that have been charged for similar cases, signed for a club, and then the club have basically said club sponsors are pulled out. So the damage is there.
So if United don't get rid of him, this could potentially damage the revenue at Manchester United from the sponsors. I mean, exactly. Mason Greenwood's already lost all his sponsorship deals last year when these allegations came out in February. Yeah. But United have suspended him, which has kept him away from United, which is a good thing, let's be honest. It's, kept him out of the spotlight. It's kept United out of the spotlight in a bad way. And, it's given United a good image that they've suspended him, but it would have given him a better image if they sacked him. Now, so the scenario is, bro, there's two ways United could deal with this, bro. And obviously we spoke about him. United can keep him, integrate him back into the team slowly. People are going to forget about it. United are going to think, people are going to forget about it eventually. He's going to do well at the club. He's going to score goals. The fans are going to start backing him again. The other option is United are like, okay, he's got a bad reputation. If we keep him here, we could lose money. We could lose revenue from sponsors. Let's sack him.
Yeah.
Personally, I would go with that option and get rid of him. cut your losses with him now. He's only, what, 20, 21, 22? Around that age.
Yeah.
Cut your losses with him. Yes, you've helped him develop from youth to reserves, but you don't need that bad negative energy and publicity around the club. The club have already got enough problems that they're dealing with.
Exactly, yeah.
So this leaves Mason Greenwood in a tough situation as well. Rightfully so, because he's put himself in this situation, bro. Now, the way I see this is Mason Greenwood needs to, if he wants to stay at United, he needs to apologize. He needs to, admit his wrongs and say it's never going to happen again. He needs to maybe go on anger management courses. He needs to do a lot, bro, just to get his image back right. Because right now there's a lot wrong with his image.
Absolutely.
To get that back to not even what it was before, because he's never going to get back to what he was as a human being. He's never going to get to that place again where he was before all this came out. But he can work on himself. He can change. There's always an opportunity somewhere to learn from your mistakes and change.
Not true.
And if he changes for the better, if he does the right things going forward and he changes for the better, that's good for him. But I still wouldn't want him at United, even if he does that in the next 6 months.
But I think the majority of people would say they don't want him near their club anyway. And I think reality is that I don't think he's going to be playing football for a really long time.
I agree with you. He shouldn't play football again for a very long time, right? But I guarantee you right now, bro, if United terminate his contract, there will be a club somewhere in a top flight league. There will be a club somewhere that will sign him right now as a free agent.
Maybe
guaranteed, bro.
Not in England, I don't think.
No. I'm not saying England. I'm saying top flight football somewhere in the world.
Okay.
Maybe in Saudi, maybe in America, maybe in Russia, maybe in China. There's a lot of top leagues around that have a lot of money. And there's a lot of big clubs that have money that may want to, just say, okay, he's had allegations, they've been dropped. He's had charges against, they've been dropped. United have sacked him. Let's snap him up on a free. We've got ourselves potentially a top player there if he develops into the player people thought he would be before.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I don't think anyone in the Premier League will take him.
Where do you see him? Where do you see him at the start of next season, bro?
I don't see him anywhere. I don't think anyone.
No club. You don't think any club will snap him up, even on a free? No. So let's say, bro, Monday comes, right? Monday, the 6th of February comes next week. United release him from his contract. They terminate his contract and say, we don't want nothing else to do with you. Thank you very much for your service. Here's your pink slip. Here's your P45. The job centre's down there. Yeah? Let's say United do that. You're saying no club will pick him up before the end of the season or even in the summer.
That's just my opinion. Like I said.
No. But you're saying no club will pick him up?
No.
I'm not saying just England, like around the world. There's hundreds of clubs, bro. There's thousands.
Okay. So I don't think so England definitely no. I think anywhere, maybe in France or maybe in Germany, someone might pick him. I can't see anyone in England picking him up.
No. I don't think any club in England's top divisions or Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, no one in them 4 leagues will pick him up.
Yeah.
So that leaves him with what? He's got the MLS in America. He's got the Bundesliga. He's got League One in France. He's got La Liga. He's got Serie A.
Serie A.
He's got I don't even know what the league is. It the Super League in China?
Yeah.
And then he's got the Russian league, the Ukraine league. There's the Portuguese league. There's the Turkish league. There's potential for him to go somewhere in another country, and it'll take him away from the press here and the fans here, and maybe he can turn his career around, and maybe 6-7 years down the line, a top club in England snap him up at the end of his career if he's still doing well.
Yeah,
because let's be honest, by then, people in England will have forgotten what he's done.
Yeah, he definitely.
But personally, I don't see him playing again for United, and I'd be very happy with that decision. Be very happy with that.
Yeah, I don't think he will. So
I don't think he will. But this is Manchester United, bro. This is Manchester United. These are the Glaciers in charge. Let's be honest, bro. If there was any other owner in football, if there was any other club that, if we were owned by anybody else, bro, Mason Greenwood would not have a contract at Man United right now. It would have been cancelled last February when these allegations came out. But because we've got the Glaciers in charge, they've got no morals. All they care about is money. He's still at the club.
Yeah.
So all this time, he has still been a Man United player. He has been contracted to Manchester United. Yes, he was suspended, but he was only suspended until the charges were dropped, which were dropped yesterday, which now means Ten Hag could bring him back into, he could bring him back into the first team, or he could play in the reserves or the under 23s or whatever.
I agree with everything you're saying. I think personally, I don't think he's going to play against Man United. Yes, the points you're raising, I think, are quite valid. But I think we need to wait for the story to uncover even further, because all we've seen is a couple of press releases. And essentially, we need to wait for, like you said, what Mason Greenwood says. And I can't imagine that no one else is going to release further reports. It's just got to be something that we need to see unfold.
Yeah, no, definitely, man, definitely. Definitely, man. I know there are people watching right now, and we've got no likes. So what's going on, people? Those people that like,
guys,
smash that like button. Smash that like button, man. Smash that thumbs up button.
Smash it.
If you haven't subscribed, smash the subscribe button and leave your comments as well. We've been talking for 38 minutes near enough about Mason Greenwood and Manchester United. Leave your comments, people. Let us know what you think about Mason Greenwood. Let us know what you think of the situation and what we've been talking about. But whilst we wait for your comments to come through, we're going to move on. We've given Mason Greenwood enough of our time today, and I don't want to give him any more. Unless we get some comments about it. But Shaz, we're going to cover some of the transfers.
Transfers. Where do you want to start? I mean, Chelsea.
Where shall we start?
Chelsea basically spent 330 million, which is more than any other team has spent in the history of the Premier League. They literally bought 8 new players, 106 for Enzo Fernandez. Which, you know what the funny thing about that is? It takes the pressure off Jack Grealish, because Enzo Fernandez is now 106 million. And
bro, Jack Grealish has been the biggest flop in football, in English football.
Oh yeah,
and all these players that have cost more than him, like Barca paid more for Coutinho, and other players.
I was driving to work yesterday, and I heard something interesting on the radio, and I think you'll agree with me on this. Well, I hope you do. But the amount of hate that Anthony gets compared to Grealish is unbelievable. Yes, I know. The amount I know Anthony. Yes,
and I'll tell you why. I'll go into this a little bit with you, bro. I'm glad you brought this one up, bro, because this is a subject that I did want to talk about.
Yeah, go on.
So Grealish cost City £100 million, right? And he's a midfielder. United paid what, 70? Was it 76 million? 70 million for Anthony?
Yeah, around 80.
And he's a midfielder as well, right? Yeah. So 2 players. They've both come into 2 of the top teams. One costs more than the other. They're both okay. I'm going to do it differently. So Jack Grealish has had more time with his club than Anthony. Anthony's only been here since the summer.
Yeah,
since the start of the season. So August, September. Jack Grealish has been at Man City for 2 seasons, 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, 2.5 seasons.
And Jack Grealish has done nothing at Man City, right? He's done nothing. He's cost £100 million and he has done nothing. He's flopped bigger than anyone I've ever seen flop, bro. Right? And he's not getting any hate for it. He's not getting no hate for it at all. Besides from me, I'm giving him a lot of hate, right? Because I don't like Jack Grealish. And I don't like Man City either. Right? Now, you've got Anthony at Man United, who's cost about 70, 75 million. He's been there for half a season, and he's getting more hate than Jack Grealish, and he's been there 2.5 seasons, right? Now, I'm going to tell you why, Shaz. I'm going to tell you why.
Go on.
Jack Grealish is England's golden boy. Anthony isn't. That's the only reason Jack Grealish is not getting hit. He is England's golden boy, and people are blind at the fact that he's not a good footballer. He's not as good as people say he is. He's a decent player for any mid-table team, like he was before Aston Villa.
Yeah.
He's a good player at Aston Villa. Stepped up to Man City, not so good. He's been exposed up here. Down here, he's not getting exposed because the players he's in his team are not as good as him. Up
Correct.
Here, he's playing with players that are higher level than him. World-class players. He's not a world-class player. He's just England's golden boy.
No, I agree. So, I mean, Anthony, I watched the game against Forest, the second leg, and I think Anthony had a good game, barring the fact that he hasn't scored. I think now he's trying to be a bit more direct, and that's okay because these things.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you, Shaz. Right, Anthony's a good player, right? He showboats too much.
Yeah,
that's a problem. He does do too many tricks, and sometimes it's in places where you don't need to be doing tricks. Just pass the ball. Stop being stupid. And secondly, he is getting very predictable with what he does. So, and what I mean by that is he runs down the right channel. He'll go towards the touchline. He'll come back towards the 16-yard box. He'll cut in across the 16-yard box and then go for a shot. He's done that at least every single game I've watched him playing this year so far, bro.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't understand why. I don't understand why he does that, because he's got more talent than just doing one thing in a game. And we know that. We've seen him play better when he was at Ajax. And we want to be able to see him play like that, but at United. And I think we will. It's just the league that the league he's come from to the Premier League is, I've always said this for players, bro, it will take time to get used to this style of play and new players around you. He has to get used to the fans here. The fans here are very vocal. As he's learned, like he's had a couple of bad games and the fans are all over him. Not just United fans as well. It's like fans from Liverpool. They've got no room to talk. Cody Gakpo's flopped bigger than Jack Grealish has as well. That's something people don't even talk about. Yeah. People don't talk about that. Gakpo's only been there a month or so, but has he scored?
No.
Exactly. And he's a striker. Let's get that right. He's a striker. They paid for him to come into the team to score goals because he is a striker. That is his main job, and he hasn't scored yet. Anthony's a midfielder. So his main job isn't to score. His main job is to, attack, get the ball forward, maybe get an assist or so. And he has assisted quite a few goals, and he scored at the start when he was here. So it's not all bad on Anthony's front. I just think he needs a bit more time to integrate and get chemistry with the players that he plays with and get used to the league. I think next season, or towards the end of the season, we're going to see a better version of him on the pitch. But people need to give him more time. The problem is, in everything right now, people have no patience, bro. Right? I guarantee, bro, if we were 7th or 8th right now in the league, even though we're still in the League Cup, the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Europa League, if we were 8th or 9th or something around mid-table, people will be saying Ten Hag out right now.
Yeah.
Right? And those are the type of fans that are toxic for the club. And every single club has that group of fans that are toxic, bro. You can't get rid of them. You just can't get rid of them, bro.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
Get fans there.
It's a problem, bro. It's a problem, but you can't get rid of that problem.
You're never gonna, bro. That's the thing. You're never gonna get rid of players like that. And even funnier is that you're never gonna be able to please all the fans. So even if you're winning, they'll be like, "Well, he's rubbish. He's rubbish." Some people are always gonna find flaws in certain players, rather than just sticking and backing that team.
But
I mean, I look at Chelsea, for example. Do you not feel bad for Graham Potter because he's got 8 new players of 330 million? Mudryk,
he's got pressure now. The pressure's on Graham Potter now. If he does not finish top 4, if he doesn't finish top 4, he's getting sacked in the summer. They've just spent over £200 million on new players.
I can't see them getting top 4, bro. I
can't see them getting top 4. I don't care how good Enzo is. I don't care how good Mudryk is. I don't care how good these players are. They're not finishing top 4.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't think they're getting top 4.
They could spend another £100 million, and they're still not going to finish top 4. It's not about the players. It's not about the players. It's about the performances on the pitch.
Yeah, Chelsea are playing Fulham.
It's like he's got a whole new team. 8 players is more than half your team, bro.
Yeah, and you know the funny thing.
And where are the rest of the players going to, bro? How have they managed to register these players, bro? Because they must have had a 25-man squad, and now they've added 8 players, and they haven't sold anybody, have they?
So they had to let a few players go on loan. Now that's why I mentioned Ziyech. So Ziyech was supposed to.
Bloody heck! There was a hoo-ha about him, weren't there?
Yeah, there was a hoo-ha basically because they messed up on the paperwork. You know what it was? They were so focused on getting Enzo through, they forgot to send the paperwork through for Ziyech to go. It's like, boys, you kind of got to let some of the other players go so you can free up the wage. I mean, Chelsea are playing Fulham at 8 o'clock tonight. So stay tuned because that's coming up after our podcast. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea cope over there.
Oh, yeah, definitely, bro. Yeah, I think Chelsea were the most active team in this window around the world, and not just in the Premier League.
No, I was just about to say. So you know what? I read in terms of what the Premier League clubs alone spent in this transfer window, 815 million. Essentially, what they are saying is that the Premier League has become a feeder for all the European clubs because they can't afford to pay players. Everyone's coming to the Premier League. So it's almost like, you go to France and pick up a sub, bring him in, play him. It's literally
that's it, bro. That's it.
They call it Super League. But yeah, go for it.
What I'm going to do, bro, is I've got some transfers for the Premier League up. And I'm just going to run some name. I'll go through team by team, but I'm going to name the players that they've brought in and obviously got rid of, yeah?
Yeah.
So we've got Bournemouth at the top, even though Arsenal should be at the top. But anyway, AFC Bournemouth have bought Dango Atara. They've bought Darren Randolph from West Brom, Anthony Semenyo from Bristol, Matthias Vinner from Roma on loan, Ilya Zabarnia from Dynamo Kiev, and Hamed Traore from Sassuolo on loan. So they've brought in 5 players, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've only heard of one of them before, which is the guy from Roma, Vinner.
Yeah, he's the only one I know from that signed for Bournemouth. Everyone else,
I don't think they've done a pretty big window there. They've got 5 players, which is 3 shorter than Chelsea, so good window for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Players out, they've actually sent 6 players out on loan, so we don't really need to go through them because they're only loan deals. Those players are going to be back. But let's get to Arsenal, bro. Let's get to Arsenal. Arsenal have had a really good window here, bro. They've got Jorginho from Chelsea.
12 million.
12 million. They brought Leonardo Trossard from Brighton.
27 million.
Yep. And then they got Jacob Kiwiro from Spezia.
Yeah.
And they've actually called back Salah Edini Olud Mohamed from loan. He was on loan, but they've recalled him.
Fair enough.
And bro, they've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players out on loan. And one of them's to one of your other teams, bro, Coventry.
Oh, yeah.
Brooke Norton Cuffy out to Coventry on loan.
Yes.
They've actually sent Marquinhos out on loan to Norwich.
Yeah, I saw that.
Foran out on loan to Hartlepool and Suarez to Fulham. So they've had a busy window on outgoings. And they've brought some good players in as well, bro. So it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal continue with this form, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aston Villa, they've actually recalled 3 players from loan. Aaron Ramsey, Drake Wright, and Bertrand Traore, all back from loan. They've brought in Alex Morena from Real Betis, and they've got Jahan Duran from Chicago Fire. So they've they've brought 3 of their own players back from loan, and they've bought 2 players.
Interesting, bro. We'll see
and
why.
They've got about 12 players out. So that Aaron Ramsey who came back from loan, he's actually been sent on another loan to Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
crazy. Why would they do that? Is this the same Aaron Ramsey that used to play at Arsenal, or am I getting the wrong person?
No, it's completely different.
It's the other kid, isn't it? Yeah, I thought so.
Yes, it's a young kid, yeah.
They've actually sent Danny Ings to West Ham on loan. Why would you do that?
No, they sold him, bro. 15 million.
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, sorry. It's not a loan. It says they've sold him. Bloody heck.
Yeah, 15 million, bro.
Bloody heck.
West Ham needed a striker, so they went and spent 15 million. Villa sold him.
And the other player, actually, one of the players they bought, the one from Chicago Fire.
Yeah.
They sent him on loan to Chicago Fire.
Yeah, so basically what they did is...
So they bought him and just left him there for the rest of the season.
Yeah, left him there, loaned him for the rest of the season.
That makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. You're not going to use him this season, next season, yeah.
I mean, Brentford actually brought 10 players in, bro.
They did? Oh, okay.
5 of them were loan recalls, but they've come back to the club. The other 5, looks like they've bought. So they've brought Byron Wilson from Coventry, Connor McManus from Bray Wanderers. They've bought Biax Booth from Dorking. They've got Kevin Shade from Freiburg on loan. Oh, bloody heck. They've brought in Romeo Beckham from Inter Miami, bro, on loan.
Yeah, I heard that.
I didn't even know. That one kept that one quiet, didn't they? They've also got Vincent and Angelini from Watford, and they've recalled Nathan Young-Coombs. Who else have they recalled? Paris Maghoma, Mads Beck, and Finn Stevens. Bloody heck! I didn't actually know they've bought Inter Miami's Romeo Beckham on loan, bro. That's going to be interesting to see if he actually gets a game. Yeah, he's still a young kid, isn't he? How old's Romeo? Is he 18?
Must be like 18, 19.
18, 19, isn't it, man? Bloody heck. Bro, I didn't even know they signed him until I read that list. That's crazy. That is crazy. He's gone to Brentford of all clubs as well. Madness.
Crazy.
They've got rid of a couple of people on loan. Not big names. They look like they're just young talent that they've got. 2 loans extended, and the others have just been new loans. One's actually to Accrington Stanley. Aaron Presley. It's the only team that I can see there that I recognise. And Blackpool. One guy's gone to Olympiacos, so they've been busy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Brighton have bought in 4 players. No one that I recognise. Yassine Ayari, Mark O'Mahony, James Mullins, and Facundo. I can't even pronounce his surname. Buon Nanote. Probably pronounced that wrong. And obviously they sold Trossard to Arsenal, and the other deals I can see are mostly loans. Besides Shane Duffy, he went to Fulham on a permanent by the looks of it.
Yeah.
And then we've got the big spenders. We've got Chelsea. So they brought in Fofana, Badiashile, Santos, John Felix on loan, Mudryk, Maduki, Gusto, and Fernandez.
They've signed loans, bro. They went crazy with that.
They went crazy. Only one of them's a loan, which is João Phoenix.
Yeah, and he's going back at the end of the season anyway, so nothing gonna happen with that.
So the others there's 3 loans in there. They look like some players that I've never heard of, so probably just a youth team. And then they've sold Jude Sunsop Bell to Spurs, and obviously Jorginho to Arsenal.
Yeah. He
Crystal.
was an interesting one that I didn't think would go all the way to Arsenal. I mean, in fact, it's probably strengthened Arsenal than it did anyone else.
Yeah,
because
that's true. I wasn't expecting that one, bro. I wasn't expecting him to actually leave Chelsea.
Yeah, because he's essentially gone to Arsenal, who are top of the league, and essentially, if they go and win the league, he's got Premier League trophy without doing much for half the season. Chelsea are going to be like, no. I've just heard. Did you know, like, the fact you were talking about Chelsea? I've heard that they kicked out Aubameyang from the Champions League squad to fit in Enzo.
I don't know how true it is, but we'll see.
I don't know. I just heard that right now. We'll have to see how the story develops, but it's an interesting take.
Yeah, definitely, bro. So, bro, I'm not going to cover all the teams because there's too many teams and there's not a lot of players that.
Yeah, talk to us about Man United. Talk to us about Man United.
So I'm just gonna show. I mean, Everton have actually released a player, Solomon Rondon. They've released him.
Did they release someone?
Yeah, Rondon got released. Broadhead went to Ipswich. Another player went to Accrington Stanley. Then they sold Anthony Gordon to Newcastle and Joe Anderson to Sunderland.
That's the thing about Everton. So just let me chime in on Everton for a sec.
Yeah, go for it, bro. You go.
Everton, for me, they sold Richarlison in the summer for 60. They sold Gordon for 45 million. That's 105. They didn't reinvest any of that money in players. Now, considering they're fighting for relegation or trying to stay up, you would think that their board would be smart enough and go get reinforcement.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Andre Ayew was a free, and even he didn't go to Everton. Tells you how bad of a...
I mean, Everton only made 3... Well, you can't really call them signings because they just recalled 3 players from loan.
Yeah.
So that's quite sad. Fulham don't look like they did anything major in the window. One player left on a mutual termination. Josh Onoma.
Yes.
He left on a mutual termination of his contract. Leeds United got Weston McKennie from Juventus on loan. They got Max Wober from Salzburg, RB Salzburg. They got Jorginho Rutter from Hoffenheim. And then they also got Diogo Monteiro from Servette. Players out for them are just loan deals. One loan deal is to the MLS, but it says pending. So I'm guessing the paperwork's still going through for that. Leicester don't look like they've actually, Leicester have George Hurst on loan recall, Victor Christiansen from Copenhagen in, Tete from Lyon, Nathan Opoku from Fieldmasters, and they got Harry Sauter from Stoke. Outwards is just all loan deals, so I'm not really going to go through them. And we have Liverpool, who only had one incoming, with this Cody Gakpo, which we already spoke about earlier. The rest are loan recalls. They've actually recalled 6 people from loan. Believe that or not. Outwards, they've got 3 on loan, and they sold Jack Kane to Swindon Town. They've got Man City, Maximo Perron. They've signed and one loan recall. Outwards, their biggest outward was João Cancelo to Munich on loan. I wasn't expecting that. I'm not sure why you would send a player like that out on loan. He probably would have been better staying. Would have been better for City if he did stay. Do you reckon?
I think he should have, but I don't know what's going on with Pep. Pep released him and said that he doesn't really want him, and they have.
I don't understand the logic behind that, because he's a good player as Cancelo. We shall see what happens with that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Crazy, man. But I'm going to move on to Manchester United.
Yeah,
I know you've been waiting for that one. We've had 3 players in, all on loan. Goalkeeper Jack Butland from Crystal Palace, Wout Weghorst from Burnley, and Marcel Sabitzer from Munich. Now, the Weghorst deal was a bit of a strange one because he was already out on loan. Burnley had to cancel that deal, and they had to pay $3 million for that. And then United signed him on loan, but United potentially just paid that $3 million to get him. So it's a win-win for Burnley. They didn't have to pay to bring the player back. United did it and then took the player on loan. Jack Butland is there as cover for De Gea and maybe, just to play some games when, we don't really need to play De Gea. We've also got Tom Heaton, who played against Nottingham Forest. Out, we had Martin Dubravka. He went back.
He was on loan from Newcastle anyway.
Yeah, so that's what it says, a loan recall. So Newcastle recalled him back. Shortire went on loan to Bolton. Charlie Savage went to Forest Green. Andre Masny went to Portadown. Deashon Bernard went to Portsmouth. Charlie McNeil went to Newport. Axel Tuanzebe went to Stoke.
Yes.
Sonny Al Joffrey went to Altrincham. So did Joe Hugill and Maxi Ayideli. So United didn't really have much. Obviously, the only player I've not really heard of is this guy we got from Munich, bro. I've not really seen much of him.
Yeah, I think it was a last-minute deal that came in.
Yeah. No, I know from reading somewhere he played against Manchester United for RB Salzburg in 2020, and he did really well.
Yeah.
But Ten Hag hasn't really seen much of him. And another player Ten Hag had. So there's a bit of a weird situation with Axel Tuanzebe. So his contract is actually up this summer. Now, there is an option to extend his deal for 12 months. And it's Ten Hag's decision whether he does that. Now, Ten Hag knows he's not going to play in the first team. So he's not going to see him play in a United shirt in the first team. But he will be able to see what he can do over at Stoke. And maybe that will give him a better understanding of what type of player he is and whether he'll fit in at United with Ten Hag. And that's obviously going to be the big deciding factor of whether he gives him that 12-month extension or not. Now, if it was me, I would cut my losses with a player like that.
I don't think he will. I think he'll let him go. So he's on loan currently. I think he will stay on loan and then probably at the end of the season they'll release him.
What I've heard is they will extend his contract for 12 months, get him back at the club, and then sell him.
Yeah, so for the transfer value, they have to extend
just to get some money for him. Because I think he's one of the players that came through the academy, hasn't he? He's been one of the players that's come through the academy, I believe. And I think he had a loan spell last season as well. So Ten Hag's not really seen him play.
He was with Villa last season, yeah. He played for Villa.
So Ten Hag's not really seen him play much. And I think he's going to keep a closer eye on him whilst he's at Stoke to see what he can do and see if he can bring any value to United.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, we've got some players coming in at Newcastle. Obviously, the goalkeeper from United was recalled. Amadou Diallo was free. They got him on a free. They signed Karang Koual from Central Coast Mariners, Anthony Gordon from Everton, and Harrison Ashby from West Ham.
3 million, yeah.
The rest were just loan deals out. No other ones coming in. Nottingham Forest look busy. They got Dinalo, Gustavo, Scarpa.
Well, they signed 29
Axel Myton.
They literally went crazy.
They signed Axel Myton, Chris Wood, Felipe from Madrid, John Joe Shelby from Newcastle. The biggest signing they got was from PSG, Keylor Navas, the goalkeeper.
Henderson.
And Andrew Ayew, free agent. And they had a couple of players leave the club on loan. And Loic Bande was recalled from whatever club they signed him from on loan. There's not many names I can see in Southampton that I can actually say that are a big deal, so I'm not going to go through them. We had Tottenham Hotspur buying Anot Danjuma. Not buying him, sorry. They got him on loan from Villarreal.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to Everton, but then at the last minute, changed his mind.
They also got Pedro Porro from Sporting on loan, and then they've got that youngster Jude Soonsup Bell from Chelsea.
Yeah.
They actually released Matt Doherty. They sold Adam Hayton to Barnsley, and the other 3 are just loan deals, so not really major. West Ham got Danny Ings, as we said earlier. They've bought someone from Sao Paulo called Luizao, and they had a loan recall on Armstrong OK Flex. Outwards, they sold Craig Dawson to Wolves, Pierre Ekwa to Sunderland, Darren Randolph to Bournemouth, and Harrison Ashby to Newcastle. The others are just loan deals. Bloody heck, bro. Wolves have been busy. Wolves have got more players than bloody Chelsea on this list. Matthias Cunha from Atletico Madrid on loan. Joy Young was a loan recall. That's another loan. I'm not going to go through the loan recalls. They signed Mario Lemina from Nice. They signed Sarabia from PSG. Craig Dawson from West Ham, as we mentioned earlier. Dan Bentley from Bristol. And Joao Gomez from Flamengo. Bloody heck. Their outgoings are quite big as well, but most of them are just loans. Oh, they released Leo Bonatini. What else? We've got Leonardo Campano went out on loan to Inter Miami, and Connor Ronan went to Colorado Rapids on loan. And that's it for the Premier League. That's just literally, just off that sheet there. That's the Premier League roundup of the transfers. Obviously, we know highest value, Chelsea were the biggest spenders. I think West Ham actually got quite a lot of players in. Nottingham Forest got a lot of players in. It's going to be interesting to see where these people fit in the clubs, because if you bring too many players in and change too many positions quickly, it ruins the chemistry of the team and the morale of the team. So it's better to make 1 or 2 signings, implement them into the squad, let the squad and them get comfortable and get the chemistry, and then bring in other players.
Yeah, no doubt.
And the other thing, bro, is with loans. Like United have got 3 loans. You only have them players till the end of the season, and then they're gone. So they have to gel with your they have to get that chemistry quick with your team. Otherwise, there was no point bringing them in. Like Weghorst, Butland, and Zabitzer. They're going to have to gel really quick.
I don't think Butland will play that much. Weghorst, I think he's been brought there more to hold up the play and give some attacking options. And Sabitzer will obviously step in, I think, in place of Ericsson.
Yeah. I think Sabitzer's a good player. From what I've seen of him, I know he's not a player that we've looked at previously or spoken about coming to United. So it is quite a weird one that we've signed a player that we've not even spoke about. Not just those, but there's never even been a rumor of this player coming to United. Do you know what I mean?
Apparently, from what I heard, is that the club were looking at him in the summer, but decided to pursue Frankie de Jong. But then again, with all the focus on that, I can imagine.
Well, we know what happened with de Jong, bro. We know what happened there. And I guarantee it's just going to happen again this summer. We're going to get the same thing. Ten Hag's going to go after de Jong. De Jong's going to stay quiet. Barca are going to say no. And then we're going to waste a full summer trying to sign a midfielder that we're not going to get. And then we're not going to get anybody. Shame, bro. Shame.
But let me wrap this up because I've got to jump off in a few minutes. I think it's going to be an interesting second half of the season, especially with Chelsea. We're going to see how they play tonight. United, obviously, they've got the Carabao Cup final in a couple of weeks. They've got the two-legged game against two-legged qualifier against Barcelona. So interesting times for United. Can't really complain that they're in 4 trophies, because that's what success is all about. Not that a lot of other clubs will know about that because they don't really compete for everything. I'm just leaving that. A team called Spurs, ball jobs. Enough said.
Enough said, innit, bro? Enough said. Spurs are going to be Spurs. They're going to keep bottling everything. Liverpool are going to do the same. I mean, Liverpool thought they were going to win like literally everything this season, and now they can't win anything. So that's another Liverpool season that that's gone according to plan, basically.
Yeah.
United are potentially still in. Well, we're not in the title race. I'm not going to say we're in the title race, and I've never said that from the start of the season. After Christmas, I know we've had a good run of form, but we're not in the title picture, and we never were. We've just had a good run of form, but we're still in the League Cup because the Carabao Cup. We're in the final now against Newcastle, which I think we can go ahead and win. We're in the FA Cup, so that's potentially another trophy we can win, and win the Europa League, which we've got Barca next. And I think if we get past Barca, there's a good chance we can win that. So potentially, okay, unrealistically, we can still win all 4 of the competitions / cups that we're in. But realistically, I see us winning 1 or 2 trophies. I see us winning the Carabao Cup against Newcastle, and I prefer the Europa League because even if we don't finish top 4, we still get Champions League if we win the Europa League.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm saying we should go for the Europa League and maybe FA Cup or League Cup. But right now, League Cup is on the cards because we've got Newcastle and we've already beat them this season. And I think we can do that again in the final. FA Cup, I'm not really too bothered if we win the FA Cup or not. I'd probably focus on the Europa League for United, just in case we don't get top 4, we're in the Europa League, and we're still in the Champions League next season. That's the way I would go. Premier League-wise, as I said, we're not in the title picture. We never were. I still think Man City will probably win the Premier League. Arsenal and United second or third, whichever way around. 4th, I'll probably give to Liverpool because Spurs are going to bottle it, and so are Chelsea. I don't think Newcastle are going to do well enough in the second half of the season to get top 4.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think
your final thoughts, Shaz, before we wrap up on just what I've just spoke about there.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think Carabao Cup, that's probably the big one for them, and top 4. Realistically, yeah. Now, if we can get past Barcelona, then by all means, I don't have an issue with them winning that. But that's going to be a big test, and considering it's 3 days before the Carabao Cup, I mean, like you said, we said yesterday, I think United have 10 games in the next 30 days, which is insane considering it's like a game every 3 days.
It works out. Yeah, so we've got 10 games over about 32 days, I think it is. So it works out that we are going to be playing a game every 3 games potentially. That's the way it's going to have to work out. And me and Shaz spoke about this before. It's just very bad scheduling from the FA.
Yeah.
With all the competitions, they didn't take Europe into account, the cups into account. They just concentrated on the Premier League, which bad scheduling. It's just going to hit. I think that's where we're going to have to use our squad depth. I think the way I see it, if there's any FA Cup games, don't concentrate on them. Let the bigger players rest for the FA Cup. Concentrate on the league, the Carabao Cup final, and the Europa League. Because there's 1 game left in the Carabao Cup, and then you can concentrate on Europe and the Premier League. FA Cup, fair enough, yeah. If you want to concentrate on it, do it, but you're gonna tire your players out if you use your big players too much.
Yeah, I agree.
But I know we have to wrap up, bro. I know you've got to get going, bro. So I'm not going to hold you any longer. I'm not going to hold you hostage any longer on the show, bro. Don't worry. But before you go, bro, we're going to let everyone know there is a show tomorrow, all things wrestling. We're going to be covering the Royal Rumble for all them wrestling fans. We're going to cover the fallout from the Royal Rumble. We're going to obviously cover a bit of what happened on Raw. And tonight we've got SmackDown. We're going to cover that. We're going to try and talk a little bit about AEW. And as always with wrestling, it's always about the Undisputed Era for me, Shaz. As you know, big fan of them. Even though they're no longer around, still a big fan. But yeah, catch us tomorrow, 8 p.m. on the same channel. All things wrestling. I'll be back. Shaz will be back. We'll have some guests. We're going to get together. We're going to have a big round of talk about wrestling. It's overdue. But before we go, please leave a like. Smash the like button on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments on social media on the video below. And share it on social media. But for me, that is all. Peace out.